We're back, and he ran like the wind. Wade van Niekerk coming in at third place, but Akani Simbine out in, where was he? Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Wind assisted,
Yes.
but
I knew you were going to come
wind
with that.
assisted.
I knew
Sorry.
you were going to come
You know, I
with
like
that.
a bit of good wind. But
In the
9.8
bar.
seconds, and the wind was around about 4 k's an hour, so it wasn't like huge. But he had a tailwind, and he's smashing at the moment. I think it's his 4th win in the last 2 months. He didn't attend the SA Champs to prepare for this.
Yeah.
Got his medal in the indoor, over 60 meters indoor world champs, and he is just. I just hope he keeps us up.
I tell you what really pissed me off this week is after South Africa won the 4x100 relay last week, right? Some American makes a video of like, look at this loser, this nobody who nobody knows, just taking on, and he says he basically rubbishes Akani Simbine.
He's the loser.
As a nobody.
Yeah.
He's like a nobody, and he just takes over this American guy and wins the 4x100. And I'm thinking, dude, do you know who you're actually talking about? And this is part of the problem with social media.
Correct, and that's why it needs to be regulated.
But probably one of the most underrated athletes in the world right now, who has been in multiple finals, multiple medalists, very few goals, unfortunately, and individually he probably deserves it, but nobody deserves anything. It's kind of like being Vijay Singh in the time of Tiger Woods. He was never going to be world number one. And it's just, it was like Gary Bailey and Peter Shilton. Gary Bailey was never going to be the number one England goalkeeper. Mark Boucher and Skegg.
Yeah, exactly.
Skegg was never going to be the wicketkeeper for the Proteas. It's just how it is. But Akani Simbine, well done. Another great. We're so proud of him.
Congrats.
And what a lekker guy. Well done, Akani. And speaking of more success, let's go chat to Mtho.
Yes, success it is. Mthokozisi Dube from the Far Post, and I wonder what he thinks about the trophy. Mtho, do you think...
Good morning.
Morning. We're talking about the trophy, Betway Prem trophy that Sundowns hoisted for the first time. We see it for the first time. Your thoughts?
Be polite now. Or
Come on,
don't be
Mtho.
polite.
You know, when you've waited for so long for something, with so much expectation, it's disappointing. It's disappointing for me. I've seen better, honestly. And you can also see from the reaction of the fans, especially on social media, not very impressed with the trophy. So I'm equally not impressed.
What are you not impressed by? Is it the size? Because I'm thinking the World Cup trophy is also nice and small and petite, Packs a punch, though. Do you think they were going for something similar here? Or do you think if it was bigger, it would have silenced the critics this morning?
Look, for me, I think it's just I can't really, because my thinking was, when you think of the Lise Kazini, we've been saying Lise Kazini, obviously trying to capture where South African football come from. I thought it would represent that, but it doesn't give that picture. The design for me just doesn't
do anything. Doesn't tickle your fancy, Mtho. But does Sundowns hoisting their 15th, or hoisting the trophy for the 15th time, their 8th consecutive win, I mean, what does that mean? Is South African football skewed when it comes to the league, and only if it is that you have deep pockets like Sundowns that you can really play along?
I think it's no fluke that Sundowns have won the league title 15 times and 8 times successively. I think when you look at what they've done internally in terms of setting up proper scouting structures, the kind of recruitment they've been doing, how much they've invested in their squad, you can see that their planning is beyond just South African football. I think they think continental football, and it's interesting that this happens when they're actually in the final. Their second final since in the last 9 years. Which I think is such a beautiful thing for South African, but also disappointing when you look at what the other teams have done. The other big how far behind they are from Sundowns in terms of recruitment, in terms of scouting and all that. So we still have a long way to go. And at this rate, I won't be surprised if Sundowns go for the 9th and 16th, next season, because they've got the squad, they've got the quality, they keep... I mean, last week we were just discussing that they've entered the race for Fawaz Pasadin. For me, the best left back that we have in South Africa at the moment, if they want to sign him, they already... I think 2 of them internationals. Divine Lunga plays for the Zimbabwe national team. Opri Mutiba is Bafana. Aseko Diwani is the under 23. They've got 3 left backs that are internationals, but they want to go for the 4th, who's also an international. So it must tell you that they mean business. They are far ahead of the other clubs.
They do.
So is this like a Man City situation where Pep Guardiola's legacy at City, even though he won the Premier League, wasn't set until he won the Champions League? I mean, are they desperate to win the Champions League? Will that desperate be the achievement of their season more than the Premier League?
I like that question, Kevin. Mtho, I think they're not going to let it go now, because as much as they had a celebration last night, they're not going all out to celebrate, because this coming weekend, I mean, there's so much pressure on their shoulders to make it.
Yeah, look, I think it also comes at the right... I mean, they wrapped up the league title, during the last week when they beat Chippa 3-0. I think Sunday was just formality to receive their trophy and just celebrate. But obviously they shift gears now. They now focus on the CAF Champions League final, against Pyramids on Saturday. I think you can see also the planning of the coach. Thembazwane didn't start the game against Chippa United. Muthubi Mvala didn't start that game. Muthubi didn't start against Magesi. Themba didn't start also against Magesi.
Well, he does need to start against Pyramids.
But he needs them in those finals. I mean, you look at the contribution of Thembazwane against Alakli. He came in the second half and he was involved in the goal that actually sent them through to the final. So you can see that the coach was planning with the final in mind. And then someone like Muthubi Mvala, the experience that he brings, he's played in the AFCON. I mean, he's a key player in Hugo Process, Bafana. He comes into this team and fortifies that defense. That will face Fiston Maele from Pyramids. It's going to be an interesting contest.
It is going to be. Let's talk about Amajitas, because doing us proud and 28-year-long drought. Kevin was giving us the names of Junaid Hartley there and Stanton Fredericks, Benny McCarthy, and we've done it again. So there is something magical happening, I guess, in football locally.
Absolutely. I think it's amazing when you look at it. You go back to Bafana finishing 3rd in the AFCON. You go back to the under-17s recently. I mean, qualifying for the World Cup, I think that's a massive feat. You've got a Stellenbosch, you've got a Pirates getting to the semi-finals of interclub competitions. You've got a Sundowns getting to the final. You've got Amajita now winning for the first time, winning the under-20 AFCON. So I think it shows you South Africa. I think South Africa is on the right track in terms of football. But I think there's something right that SAFA, I think, did under Holter Steenbok. I think there's a period of 2 years where they started scouting, these young players in different provinces and then put together a team. If I remember very well, I think they went to Poland and played. Some of those boys have been part of this, the under-17 team that qualified for the World Cup, and now the under-20s as well, now getting to the World Cup, which is a massive thing for South African football, because I expect to see these boys going to the World Cup and not coming back to play in South Africa.
Amen and amen to that. I like that, Mtho. I mean, talking about the younger players as well, there's lots to talk about if we think about Coco Melon. I know he hates that nickname. But Mofokeng, and there's rumors that he is leaving Pirates.
No. Look, there's been a lot of interest in him, but obviously nothing really tangible. So at the moment, nothing tangible as far as I know. So I think he should still be at Pirates, unless maybe during the transfer window something big happens. But at the moment, I don't think he's leaving.
He's going anywhere. At Pirates, he stays. Any burning questions?
What's happening in the Motsepe Foundation Championship?
Yes,
because now I see so Spurs are protesting against Durban City because they're getting relegated. Somebody
ineligible player. Farouk Adodia is saying there isn't an ineligible player. Yeah, Mtho, what's the latest?
Yeah, look, I mean, this thing always happens every season.
Yeah, true.
Towards the end, there's these protests.
Yeah.
So what has happened is that there's a player that Durban City fielded in some of their games. So the teams that played against Durban City, when that particular player played, actually protesting, and they're saying that he was not registered properly. His name is Saziso Makawana. So yeah, I know of 2 teams that have already protested. So there's obviously, I mean, the PSL is going to now obviously do its investigation, and then a decision will obviously be taken by the DRC. That should happen on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So we should know by end of Tuesday what the outcome is.
Well, if they move at the speed they did with the Royal AM, you never know. So yeah, but I do hope they sort it out, and I would like to see Durban City Cup, seeing that Royal AM now have basically ceased to exist, and Durban needs another team in the PSL.
Be nice. Yeah, it would be nice. Mtho, thank you so much. Always good chatting. Just putting local football into perspective there for us. And yes, it happens. I remember when the NFD had 2 streams, inland and coastal. Oh my gosh. There was. That's when I started following NFD, and it was just a mess. Like, the points were a mess. The way they tallied it, there was always a protest of some sort, and not much has changed. Every season around this time,
it's too much toy.
Something happens. Something weird happens, but it's really the same issues over and over again.
Well, let's see. We'll probably find out on tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll
Tomorrow's
talk about
Tuesday
it
all
Wednesday.
day, Kev.
I know. I'm just thinking. It's been a hell of a Monday. It's been a hell of a weekend for sport. Max Verstappen wins. Scotty Scheffler won the PGA. And Kenny Simbine. I mean, that is my story for the weekend. Oh,
what
no.
a man.
And then Palace. Winning. It's just been a great weekend of sport.
It has
and
been.
3 South African teams in the USC playoffs.
Whoop.
So yeah, it's been a great weekend for South African sport, for African sport, but mostly for Crystal Palace. Come on.
And Amajita. That's the Monday edition. We're back tomorrow. Cheerio.
Live and on demand. This is not the sports news. Available on omniaudio.africa and on YouTube at Omni Audio Africa.